One person we are saying goodbye to, or have already said goodbye to, is Sergio Aguero. Just tell us what he's meant to you over the last decade.
He's, arguably the greatest legend of this club. What he's been able to achieve over 10 years. I think the number of titles that he's won for this club, his influence over the game. I think we all know the influence he has had for this club, but I think one cannot ignore the impact he's had on this league, on the Premier League. He is, arguably the greatest striker that has ever played in the Premier League. He'll be on anybody's top 3 list, I think. He's got the best goals per minute ratio of any striker that has played in the Premier League. He's scored critical goals at the most critical moments. And of course, one can never forget arguably the greatest moment in Premier League history, the 93-20 QPR, that goal. So Sergio will leave, I think, with a legacy that is unforgettable. He will leave as a legend. He will be appreciated, I think, for the next 100 years as one of the greatest players that have ever worn a City jersey. And for me personally, just to conclude that, I think having been part of that journey with Sergio, going back to the day we brought him from Atletico Madrid, and then watching him make his first appearance against Swansea, 2 goals, 1 assist in less than 30 minutes, less than 25 minutes on the pitch. That beginning, and then 10 years later, that end, these 2 moments coming with 30 minutes left, not fit, and scoring 2 goals and scoring almost another 2, and then playing in a Champions League final a week later, and in between, 15 trophies. That's Sergio Aguero to you. And in those 10 years, never once given anybody in this club any heartache, any problems. The perfect professional. Humble, committed, passionate, and delivering on the pitch. That's Sergio Aguero.
And of course, he's going to be immortalised at the Etihad with the statue. How fitting a tribute is that?
It's the least we can do. Throughout the last couple of years, if you look at everything we've achieved, and if you look at the players that have been legends for this club, it was always in the back of our minds, we have a responsibility for the generations to come. These are legends in a period of time over the last 10 years that have given so much to this club. David Silva, Yaya Toure, Vincent Kompany, Joe Hart, Pablo Zabaleta. These are players that have given incredible contributions. And when you look at Silva, Vincent, and Sergio particularly, I think their influence to this club and on English football, I think, is unquestionable. And therefore, having statues respecting their contributions, I think, is completely well-deserved for them and for our community and our fan base. And I think for the next 50, 100 years, people will look back at these players in the same way we look back at some of the other greats, Colin Bell, Francis Lee, Mike Summerby, who, by the way, we are thinking right now of how best to show our respect and appreciation for what they have contributed. Yes, I think this ownership group was not part of that era, but having said that, it's such a critical part of our history, and it needs to be immortalized also. I think these are things that we are now discussing. It's a no-brainer, and it's absolutely the right thing to do, and it's the least thing we can do.
And Colin's son, of course, emotionally brought the big trophy there out against Everton. You won't have seen him play, but what were your memories of him as an ambassador for the club and as a man?
Obviously, I come from a different era, different age. I've seen footage of Colin playing, but I never saw him play, and I was too young to see that. So I think to speak about Colin, I didn't know him well, but he's someone that every time I did see him, at every game I was at, he was a man with, how to describe it, humble, genuine, serious, passionate in his own way, and a legend that you can feel was a legend in a way that is unique because of his low-keyness. I always used to think in my mind, every time I saw him at the stadium, wow, this is a man that has achieved so much. Yet, he's maintained a dignity and humbleness that you wish players can look at that and learn. When you're a champion, you act in a way, but then, years later, how to maintain that dignity in the most respectable way. And I think Colin is the epitome of that. And as I would have loved now in hindsight to have spent more time with him and to have been able to talk even more with him. But that's life. I hope now in his passing that we are able to show him and show his family and our fans the appreciation he deserves. And I really appreciate his son John participating at the Everton game and really carrying that trophy. I think the symbolism of that was so important, I think, for everyone.
With his dad in the background on a tarp,
Absolutely.
looking at him, so
Absolutely.
very emotional for everyone.
Absolutely.
And another fan question, not about Colin, but similar lines. After the success of the celebrations surrounding the club's 125th anniversary, what plans are there going forward to celebrate the rich history and culture of the club?
We have to, Chris, and I think this is important. One of the things we need to keep doing and keep improving is having that communication line with our fans, understanding what we are doing right and they want us to continue to do, what we are not doing so right and they want us to improve. And that includes everything from how we are handling and managing the respect of the culture, what we need to do more in that area, the infrastructure as a whole, what we can improve, the things they feel most strongly about. I think this is an area that constantly we need to have this line of communications with our fans. I mean, obviously some things we can do and some things we can't. But I think knowing and not working on assumptions, I think this is very important for our organization. So I hope, that's an area that I think we lost a year in COVID. I think as fans will come back now to the stadium, we will go back to doing the necessary investments that we should be doing, having new improvements around the Etihad, addressing the concerns our fans have, and if not, explaining why. I think this is an important line of communication, that relationship between the fans and the club, and that understanding.
Which brings us nicely onto the Super League, I guess. You knew this was coming, right?
Of course.
So, it was probably the only sour note, or has been the only sour note of the season. And to call it a debacle was probably correct, and probably the only misstep that this leadership has taken in a decade. And I know the legal matters are still pertaining around it, but how much can you tell us about how that decision was arrived at and the thinking behind it?
I'm glad you asked the question, because you had to ask it, and I think it's important. I haven't addressed it till this moment, and I want to address it. First of all, I want to start with apologizing to the fans. I think we owe it. I owe it. It was a mistake. I think, in hindsight, the decision should have been, from the beginning, a decision not to participate in this league. For many reasons. I think we looked at it, and I'm not going to sit here and defend the reason why we did it. I think what I will do is I will own it, which is we took a decision. I took a decision ultimately on this, and I take full responsibility, and it was a mistake. And what I tell the fans on this is, to get to where we are today, throughout the years, we've done a lot of things right, and we've made a lot of mistakes. And it's part of growing, and it's part of improving. And I say that always, you need to have the courage to make mistakes, and then to own up to these mistakes, to go forward. Or else you're in a paralysis mode. And particularly where we're coming from. If you go back 12 years ago, where we started, to where we are today, we couldn't have done the leaps we have made over the years without taking risks and without making mistakes and learning from them and then coming back and constantly improving. It was a decision, based on a view, which was a mistaken view, that this will improve and strengthen our position as a club. I think what it missed was an important aspect, which is how the fans felt about it, addressing, I think, a fundamental point, which is the football pyramid in a way that is proper. We will learn from it. I have no doubt. I think our fans appreciate the heart and spirit of everything we do. And I think our fans, I hope, will understand that when we make such a mistake like this, our heart was in the right place, our assessment was wrong.
And it felt very much like we were the last ones in and the
Yeah.
first ones out. And because of that, our fans were less vocal than many other fans, and we all saw what happened at other clubs. But I guess the simple question is, do you regret it?
Yeah, I absolutely regret it. The benefit of hindsight is easy right now. I regret it, and you can see it. It was not an easy decision to say yes, no, and we're in and we're out. But I think you can see, in terms of the timing of when we actually did commit, it tells you a lot in terms of how challenged of a decision it was and how much we struggled with that decision. But you can also see that once we recognized there was a mistake, that's it. We needed to go out immediately. And I think we heard the fans, we heard the football community speak, and we acted on that. So regret, yes. Big learning experience. We go on, and we will continue. And I think one thing I want to make sure that you understand, Chris, and the fans understand, we will continue to push the envelope in everything we do, because we want to be the best club in the world. And to do so, we have to disrupt. And we will disrupt. And in being disruptive, sometimes you make mistakes. We've made mistakes in the past. We will make mistakes in the future, and I apologize for that, but we will do more right than wrong, and we will be better, and we will be stronger, and we will be more successful.
I think it's pretty indisputable that more right than wrong has been done over the past decade. So another fan question, Khaldun. We won our case with UEFA about financial fair play, but that doesn't mean financial fair play is dead, or does it mean financial fair play is dead?
No, of course, Chris. We're subject to rules and regulations in whatever jurisdiction we're part of. But I think today, as a club, as a group, we're in such a different place. We have a sound financial standing right now. We've always been sound, but I think our strength, our balance sheet strength over the last 10 years has gone from strength to strength. And today, our ability to have a strong revenue stream, a diverse revenue stream like the one we have today, to have a strong presence, both in the Premier League in terms of our standing and in the Champions League with the Champions League revenue, the group of sponsors that we've built over the years, our diverse investments that we've done over the years. I mean, really, you look at today, this group, and I will argue is one of the best run groups in the world. This club is very well managed, is financially strong. And I think from that perspective, I think when you talk about financial fair play, for me, at the end of the day, it's about rules and regulations which we will meet. But I think in terms of our ability to move, we are now in the position I've always wanted us to get to, which is a position of strength.
How much will it impact on our ability to compete on transfer fees and wages?
I think we are where we are, which is in the top of the competition. We will continue to be in the top of the competition. And our ability to compete in that top tier is clear, and we will be both competitive and aggressive.